This is Brad Maggard from MaggardRazors.com, and in my spare time I listen to Moustache Blade.
Welcome to the Moustache and Blade podcast, a show dedicated to all things facial fur and traditional wet shaving in an effort to create global facial awareness. And now, here are your hosts, Douglas Smythe and Ryan Stephen Green.
Hey, this is Douglas Smythe from Moustache and Blade.
And I'm Ryan Green. I'm a documentary filmmaker and the partner in crime to Mr. Smythe.
He certainly is. And today's show is brought to you by, strangely enough, Synergy Shaving Soap, which can be found at howtogrowamustachestore.com. And if anyone out there has a question for us about mustaches or blades, you can reach us, or rather leave your voicemail question for us that we will possibly play on air at 347-333-1511. If you're out of the country, just add 001-347-333-1511. You can also email us directly, either myself or Ryan. I am Douglas at moustacheandblade.com, and he is Ryan at moustacheandblade.com. Okay, Ryan, what are we up to today?
I want to get to know you, Doug. And I think your public wants to get to know you too. And so, I've prepared some questions to kind of, hopefully draw you out a little. Show a side that
Seldom seen.
the public is not aware of. So, there's nothing too controversial here. I mean, it's all nice and easy. So.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about. But, my idea was just we would just kind of shoot the breeze. It's if we're sitting at the bar having a little bourbon or something. Instead, it's early in the morning and we're having coffee. That's okay. Yeah. But, we're just it's a getting to know you show today.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, let's do this. What you got?
Let's start big. Let's start broad here.
Okay, I like big and I like broad. I can do that.
Who is Douglas Smythe?
Who is Douglas Smythe? Douglas Smythe is a writer, a soap maker, and currently a podcaster, a mustache aficionado, as well as a wet shaving geek.
Question number 2. Who is Douglas Smythe really?
Really? Douglas Smythe. He's a humble servant of the people, in a few words, today.
When I ask these questions, I don't really know what I'm going for, but it's funny, like what you pick up on somebody, because there's so many things I could say about you, though we're relatively new to one another. When I describe Smythe out here on the West Coast, what I always say is Smythe is a man of his word. And the reason I say that is maybe it's by point of comparison, because when you live in Los Angeles, as I do, there's a lot of people who say things and don't do them. And so when you meet somebody who says things and then does them, and not only that, but says things or hears things and doesn't forget about it, that's an incredible attribute. And to me, that's one of the defining characteristics of Mr. Douglas Smythe. That, along with a ravishing enthusiasm for life and work. That's another precious commodity. So another thing I appreciate about Douglas Smythe. So,
geesh, man, thank you. Maybe you should be representing me during this interview.
Talk your mouthpiece. You want me to be your mouthpiece?
Yeah, exactly. I'll just edit this after.
Okay, how about this? Here's one a little less personal. How about this? Describe shaving, and I'm talking like 30,000-foot view here. I'm not talking about wet shaving. I'm not talking about cartridges. I'm not talking about anything. I'm just talking about the act of shaving. Very broad, 30,000-foot view.
Well, the act of shaving. I mean, that's something that is. Are we talking about men shaving, like male shaving, or female shaving?
Good point of clarification. We're talking males here.
Okay, yeah. In regards to male shaving, it's something purely unique to men, is understood. Something we have to do. Something that, for many, is a chore or a pain, and something we could care less about than what we should. a lot of us anyways, have come to discover through our introduction into wet shaving. But shaving, yeah, it's one of those things in life that you got to do unless you're a beardo and competing. Other than that, most people have to shave for their job, have to shave for whatever. It's something we do as men.
Yeah. I mean, it's a chore. It's something we're compelled to do, whether we like it or not. These are certainly salient features of the act of shaving. I guess, that being said, what is it about shaving? I mean, how come this innocuous act, this chore, this thing we're shackled to, what is it about that has attracted you so? And what is it about that has, how do you look at that and see there's so much more there? There's maybe even something beautiful here. There's maybe something exciting or fun here. How did you come to shaving? Tell me about your process of coming to shaving as a activity that you look forward to rather than dread, maybe.
Well, my entry into the world of wet shaving is a little more personal, and it's something I was introduced to at a rather young age, watching my dad do it, using razors that he inherited from his father. So I grew up watching this. In fact, that was kind of our bonding time. This is something I was share with him on the weekends. I'd sit there and watch him. We weren't really talking that much while he was doing it. I was just fascinated by it, and I don't think he really noticed me at first. But Dad, he's home. It's the weekend. He's not working. I get to spend some time with him. So I was there in the bathroom with him, just watching him do his thing. And eventually, I was really young, 8 or 9, maybe even younger actually when this started. Eventually, he realized that I had an interest in this, and he thought it would be fun to start training me how to wet shave.
At that age?
Yeah, at that age. Minus the blade, of course, though. He had another razor, an Aristocrat, he inherited from my granddad as well, and he would take the blade out of it, give it to me, and lather me up and show me. At the time, it was more fun than anything else. I didn't realize he was teaching me how to do it properly. It was just something I was doing with my dad.
Sure.
And, he'd lather me up and I'd be scraping my face along with him, mimicking him directly. And he actually pulled a little stool up, too, next to the sink that I would stand on so I could see in the mirror as well. Or he would set up my mom's little makeup mirror for me to look into if I wasn't using the stool. But, yeah, and that's pretty much how it began. And this went on for a couple of years. It was our weekend shave. And again, he would adjust my hands as I was shaving. Even though there was no blade in there, he was teaching me, almost like Karate Kid method, how to, he was Mr. Miyagi, how to shave properly. And, this went on for probably 2-3 years. I was probably 10 when it no longer was an interest to me. And then, I just grew up away from it. It was something I wasn't interested in anymore. I was interested in skateboarding and rock and roll and all that other stuff that young guys are into. And so just got away from it and spending time with my dad on the weekends shaving.
So around this time too, shaving actually becomes something you have to do because you got the peach fuzz going. Girls are starting to make fun of you for your upper lip or whatever. It's junior high. I mean, at this time, you're actually having to put a blade to your face.
Yeah, no, I probably didn't start shaving until high school.
Okay.
I have lighter hair, or I did then anyways. And so high school, and I went to high school at this school. It was primarily Portuguese. So all the guys had mustaches already.
A primarily Portuguese high school.
There was a lot of people from Portugal over there. And so it just to fit in, I would try to grow out that little blonde peach fuzz mustache, but I still stuck out like a sore thumb. The thing is, it was a private school, so that for facial hair, we were only allowed to have a mustache, and our hair couldn't be any longer than 2 inches below our ears.
Wow.
So I really had to rock the stash.
It was that or nothing.
Yeah, if you did try to grow a goatee or some scruff on your chin, you were sent to the principal's office, and he would give you a can of, shaving goo and a cartridge razor or a disposable razor, and you had to shave before you attended classes. But yeah, and so maybe that was my introduction into. I didn't like this principal at all either, or vice principal, and he was the one who introduced me to the evil cartridge disposable razors, I think. So another strike against him.
Besides his being a principal.
Besides, yeah. But yeah, so then that was the time to start shaving. One of the Gillette cartridge razors I had back then, I might have even received it in the mail on my birthday with a free cartridge or two. That's how they rope you in.
You would enter some sweepstakes or something like that, and
It might have even been the civil service. I don't know how they got my information, but I'm pretty sure if that didn't happen to me, that happened to someone else, and I'm just blurring.
When they made you register for the draft, they sent you a free cartridge razor.
Yeah, probably when I registered to vote. So yeah, I got a razor in the mail, and that's what I would use, and I pretty much taught myself how to use a cartridge razor. I mean, I already had the moves down, but I didn't think much of it. I had the green shaving gel and my disposable razors, and that was it. And honestly, back then I didn't have much hair on my face to begin with, so dragging one of those bad boys across my face I didn't think anything of it. It's just something I had to do.
Sure.
For years, I did that, years and years and years. And eventually, my father ended up giving me his Aristocrat and my own Old Spice, it might even be vintage, Old Spice mug, and a brush. Just left it for me one day. It was actually Father's Day, next to my bed. When I came home, there it was. I was like, I forgot all about this thing. And I'm looking at it, I was like, just suddenly brought back to those times we spent in, the bathroom on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. And that's what got me back. It took a couple of years, I think, really, for me to start using it again.
Sure.
But once I did, it's true. I started actually using the brush and the soap first before I picked up that razor again. And that was due to the fact that blades were hard to find. Like in the in the 90s and whatnot, right. The internet hadn't exploded as it has now, and the internet was in its fledgling days. Yeah, Al Gore was still working on it at that time, from what I understand. Eventually worked my way back to that, and here I am, just a wet shaving machine. And it's since then, I've delved into yoga and all that other stuff, very meditative things, as one does. Doing these things gives me like an awareness or like just an appreciation for taking time out to do these things, or like green tea ceremony. It's very. I was looking into Zen, as one does, back in the day. After college, trying to find myself. Yeah, so I was studying green tea ceremony, Aikido, yoga, and it was all these like turning in type philosophies. Sure. And strangely enough, it resonated with, it just took me back to wet shaving, how that was like time with me and my dad. It was like looking in, it was this very patient act. It wasn't a chore anymore when I started thinking about it differently. And then that's what really drove me back. And it's like, wait, there was something else in my life that's missing now that I used to have the same feeling about. Oh yeah, wet shaving, strangely enough. And now getting back to it, I think about green tea ceremony. I think about yoga. And it's just like, it's meditative. It's relaxing. It feels great. I mean, it's just the benefits alone will pull anyone into it once they experience it for the first time. It is countercultural in that way. The speed of life is such that things like taking maybe half an hour or even 15 minutes to shave your face is like absurd, Since I've, thanks to you, gotten into wet shaving, I've started to realize the other things in my life that I've kind of put into place to fulfill that kind of slowing down thing, because it's very important to me as well. Listening to the Dodgers on the radio is something that I do every game, pretty much, unless I'm out working. Yeah. Putting on a record on the record player is an act you actually have to participate in, take time to do, be intentional about. Cooking dinner is something I very much enjoy for this reason. I smoke a tobacco pipe, partly because I enjoy it, but mostly because you're forced to slow down your pace when you do that. And whatever it's taking away from me health-wise, it's more than making up for in the intentionality of the act itself. And the fact that you have to slow down. I always make it a point to leave my cell phone inside while I smoke my pipe. It's just a time for me to slow down and think about life and what I need to do. And I think these things are very important, maybe more so today than ever before. I don't know. I mean, I agree completely. Well said is what it all comes down to. Well, you pointed out something else. It leads me to another one of my questions is there's this funny sort of dichotomy or a paradox even in the wet shaving phenomenon, we could say. Especially as regards to you, this technology is antiquated. It's not quite dead, but it's certainly out of date. And yet there's this other aspect to your life and work, and that's this cutting edge technological aspect, social media and the web and podcasting, these things that are
if not the newest and new, certainly indicative of the technology age. And so you have the old and the new, wrapped up into one. And how do you think about that, or do you think about that?
I do think about that. I think about that quite a lot, because part of me wants to resist all this, downfall of Western civilization being, the interweb and social media. And another part of me that's a little bit brighter, I think, embraces it.
Were there ever plans to make How to Grow a Mustache a monthly newsletter that was mailed to your door? A mail or a catalog for your products?
That's not the green. No, I do embrace technology. I think more people need to a certain extent. I mean, when it's done well and done right. And as with anything else like that, I mean, there's a lot more bad than good, which will turn a lot of people off. But we're at a point in history where the playing field's been kind of leveled in so many ways, where everyone now has a voice. I mean, this podcast alone proves that. Back in the day, you couldn't do this. Now we're being heard all over the world. And that blows my mind. And hopefully we're, yeah, exactly. Hopefully we're, offering some value to what's out there, competing with what's the trash that's out there. And again, if it wasn't for social media, a lot of these thoughts and concepts wouldn't be making their way to the people. A lot of new music out there. I'm almost jealous of the children growing up today in today's world. The exposure of all this music and tutorials online, and YouTube. You don't even have to. I grew up studying music. I had to go once a week to my instructor. Now I can get free lessons for something online. I mean, these kids are going to be monsters when it comes to like arts, music, so on and so forth, thanks to this technology. I mean, there may be a little bit of backlash. Maybe the soul might be taken out of it a little because, you can easily click from one song to the next song from different countries, music from all over the world. I remember growing up with one album for a month. And then you save your money up from your paper route and whatnot. You buy another album. But by the time you get the next album, you can sing every guitar solo on there. You know all the words, whether you're pronouncing them correctly or not, by heart. And now since the kids are jumping around so fast, I don't know if it's the same intimacy that we had or were forced to have. So, and the same thing goes with everything else. But when it comes to wet shaving, it's different. Like, we really are, it's almost a movement. The culture, the wet shaving culture, it fascinates me as much as the pieces that are available, now. I mean, I can find a vintage razor anywhere online. And just to hold it in your hand, once it arrives, you're so excited. It's like Christmas in Killarney when it shows up in the mail. You're holding it up to the light, looking at this piece, like, where has this been? Talk to me, tell me who owns you. How many hands has this gone through? What's your story? They're just fascinating little relics that you can use, and they're just beautiful. I mean, I'm a collector. I grew up collecting, comic books, stamps, coins. These things have stamps especially always fascinated me when I was very young, just wondering what their story was, where they came from, where do they, just all that combined. And this is very reminiscent of that. Maybe I'm getting back to my childhood almost, and my things that fascinated me. Antiques also fascinate me. So it's just really like the perfect thing for me. Its form and function really turned me on. And the process of wet shaving in itself. It's just it's great all around.
And the weight of history.
The weight of history, like Rome.
Like Rome, yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I cannot tell you, when I was in Rome, this is such a departure, except for the weight of history, but it took me, I think, about 4 hours to walk the floor of the Forum. And to anybody who's been to Rome, the Forum is not large.
Right.
It's a very small area.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge history buff. My dad taught history as his career, so I grew up around another history buff. And to stand on the floor of the Forum in Rome was so overwhelming to me that at just every couple dozen feet, I would just stop again and start to weep. No kidding. I wept my way across the Forum floor, just feeling the weight of history. The wet shaving doesn't have quite as deep a history, but is valuable nonetheless. So I can certainly understand that aspect of it.
Well, actually, it does. It does have just as deep a history. I mean, it goes back to before the times of Rome. I mean, like, it goes way back.
Do tell.
I mean, they were probably shaving gladiators inside the Coliseum, keep the hair short and off your face, keep the beard short so their opponents wouldn't grab them, wouldn't be, disadvantaged the matches. I mean, shaving goes, all the way back to Egypt and probably further. So, I mean, it's an ancient practice that's still going on. And you're getting closer to that history when you use a vintage double-edged razor or a straight razor, and you can feel it. I mean, I hate to get really metaphorical or really.
Why do you hate it? Let it out, man. Let it out.
well, I don't want to turn anybody off to it, but it really is. There's there's a connection that's being made when you give it a go. I can't put into words right now.
No, I can dig that though. I mean, there are things in my life that certainly I love because they feel like I am tapping into things that my ancestors did thousands of years ago. This is the same recipe, or this is the same act, or this is the same place. I mean, there right there is the Roman Forum. It's tapping into this lineage and the ways people lived long before us. And I love to gather that sense when available. No,
it's true. It's like a current that you're feeling through this relic. That does tap into that collective consciousness almost of mankind. Wow, we're making this really big. But these are all the feelings that one has when they try a wet shave or try, working with older or antique devices or whatever. Getting back to that hands-on process. Whether you are conscious of that feeling or not, something is happening, something chemical. I mean, these things are hardwired in our DNA. It's alchemical almost. Yeah, I really don't feel like I can do it justice with the English language. So I'm going to switch over to French now.
I'm glad they are being spoken, because for any listener out there, this is the soul behind Moustache and Blade.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the thoughts, these are the beliefs. I mean, these are the personalities that are bringing this show to life. So I think it's important to state. I mean, maybe it's passable, maybe it's too broad, but it's certainly part of our story and what we bring to the interviews we conduct, or the news items we pick, or the conversations, or even the perspective we have on what we're talking about. So
it's a passion.
I think it's important. Yeah,
it's definitely a passion that's speaking. Be it wet shaving or be it mustaches. I mean, another thing that goes way back. So no, I'm glad it's good. I like the way this is going. Thank you for that, Ryan.
Okay, how about this? This will bring it back to the specific. This is Moustache and Blade podcast.
Yes.
It's featuring Douglas Smythe and Ryan Stephen Green. As I mentioned in our intro in today's show, you haven't heard my name. Doug has.
I have.
How did you find me, Doug? Who is Ryan Green?
For those who don't know, I run a mustache blog, howtogrowmustache.com, and I was interested in putting together a page where people could, almost like a cinema on the site for anything mustache related or wet shaving related in the film world. And so I collected all these different mustache movies and all these different wet shaving movies. There's more mustache movies than wet shaving movies, I'll have you know. And Ryan's name kept popping up. Actually, it was different festivals. And yeah, so eventually, and there was a couple guys I had on a list, and Ryan was probably the second one that I contacted, and he got back to me right away. And not only was a documentary, his short, about the mustache, but the name itself intrigued me. And it completely stood out from all the other film names. Ryan, what's the title?
Between the Upper Lip and Nasal Passageway, a modern account of the mustache.
Exactly.
Now, one little known fact about this title. I mean, this isn't, on the one hand, yeah, you could call it gimmickry or whatever. On the other hand, it's a lyric to a song that a friend of mine wrote. His name is Wesley Chung.
Oh. Wesley
did the soundtrack to the film itself. Wesley contributed music to my feature film, Circle the Wagon, as well. A close friend of mine. At my instigation, at one point I had this grandiose kind of plan this is in 2007, wow. to make this series of sort of anecdotes or webisodes, just very short glimpses of the mustache in modern society. It wasn't about, what I was getting frustrated with, or tired of rather, was this joke. The mustache is a joke. It's something fake you put on your face. It's something for Ron Burgundies and sex offenders and hillbillies and truckers. It has this kind of stigma of ickiness attached to it. And I didn't like that. One of my favorite photos of my father is from the 70s. He's a young man, and he's got this mane of blonde hair and this majestic mustache.
Nice.
It's just, it's a walrus, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's huge, and it's just like so of its time and so gorgeous. And when I see that photo, I'm just like, that is the most handsome my dad has ever looked, just letting it grow out in his flannel shirt. And there were, at the same time, there were these things I would hear about the mustache, little things here or there. And at the same time, I was growing a mustache. So, of course, as you've experienced, Doug, the comments, the looks, the questions, all that stuff was happening kind of all at once. And one of the things, getting back to the title of the film, one of the things that I wanted to do was, and I actually did this, maybe we'll post on the website, I actually compiled a list of famous mustaches, like throughout history.
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe and John Joyce and Ezra Pound and Tennessee Williams, and just on and on and on. This long list, and I came up with these mini bios for each of these men. And I had my friend Wes write a song about these men. And I said, look, there's way too many men to write to mention in one song, but just, pick half a dozen or however many you want and just write a song about it. And he wrote this epic, 7-minute song about, and he included almost all of these names. And it's so beautiful. And when he wrote it, I wanted to make him, the plan was to make this music video. Of that would be mostly kind of like animation and motion graphics of kind of puppet versions of these men. That part never happened, but the song exists, and it's called, or rather, one of the lyrics is, I think the title of the song itself is Between the Upper Lip and, no, it's a lyric. It's not the title. It's called Ode to Mustache.
Okay.
But one of the lyrics is Between the Upper Lip and Nasal Passageway. And I guess I just chose that as the title of the film as a memorial to, the music video that never happened for the song. So that's a rather long story. Sorry about that.
No. That's actually, when I interviewed you way back, that's a question I left out, and I don't know why, because that's the most poignant, question I could ask, really, is where does the title come from? Because it really did. It stood out on the page. And so I was like, I'm contacting this guy.
Wesley Chung.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's how I found you. Yeah. And as I said, that interview went swimmingly well. And so then I invited Ryan, or you, to join me in interviewing, which is the first time I've done that, a tag team interview. I thought it would be great to have another filmmaker aid me in interviewing this filmmaker, who happened to be F. Stone Roberts, who did a great facial fur film called Splitting Hairs. And this predates Whisker Wars. And actually, Whisker Wars borrowed a lot from Stone. So I thought this would be a really great interview. And so we did it, and we didn't do it in my normal fashion. We did it over the phone. So
that's right.
Yeah, we did it. It was like a party line, and it was a great interview. It was a long interview. It was very long. It was very fun. Yeah, it was like three guys getting together, just shooting the breeze with like three different accents. He's from New York. He's in New York. I'm in Mass, and then we got Ryan over on the West Coast. So there's that, and yeah, just talking shop, talking about mustaches and beards. After the interview, it was my job now to transcribe it. So actually, no. Before I even started listening to transcribe it, just the way it went, I thought it would be fun to do a podcast with Ryan. I think after Stone hung up, I was like, hey, we should do a podcast sometime. And you were immediately like, yeah. So what was I thinking? Yeah, I know, right? Here we are. But then, yeah, listening back and transcribing all of that, which probably took me about 3 days, it sounded like a podcast. It went smooth, and it's just like the banter. It was just great. And I realized that a podcast was possible after that, especially the fact that you hopped on board so fast. So, yeah, no, it was just meant to be. And that's how Ryan Stephen Green appeared in my life. And since then, I reviewed his recent documentary, Circle the Wagon, which is at all the film festivals now, pretty much. Where you showing up next?
Well, by the time this is heard, we'll have already played them. But as of the recording of this podcast, this weekend we're playing Orlando Film Festival, and next weekend we're playing Austin Film Festival. To date, you know what? I have it right here on my website. I could tell you what others. Let's see. We've got Downtown Film Festival Los Angeles. We've got Albuquerque Film and Media Experience. That's where we premiered, actually.
Nice.
We've got Columbia Gorge. We've got Orlando, as I mentioned. We've got Austin. We've got Sheffield. We've got Topanga Film Festival. That's in our first 4 months of existence so far. And there are others that are already... They're not yet official selections, which means we can't mention their names at this point.
Oh, that's interesting.
But there are other festivals we will be playing in the near future.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I mean, so I got to see this movie. He sent me a copy of it before it was released. It was really secretive. I couldn't show it to anybody, and in order for me to review it. And I didn't know what to expect after the Moustache movie. So this is Circle the Wagon, and this is about the Volkswagen culture. Vintage Volkswagen culture. A little blurb about that, Ryan?
Dude, take it away. Whatever you like.
Yeah, it's a fascinating documentary. It's how would you say? It's a dramedy?
We call it a buddy road trip docu-dramedy.
Yes, it's like almost, it's very Kerouac-esque to a certain extent. Two buddies on each side of the country meeting up to drive away a Volkswagen van that was bought sight unseen. And the goal is to get it back to, or to get it to California. And it's just following these two across the country. And it took them, at the end of it all, it took them, 3 years to fulfill their mission?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So it's
4 years between the two trips. Whether or not we made it back to California, you'll have to tune in to see. But
actually, I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to be a spoiler, but it's a fascinating documentary. It's one of the most interesting. I love documentaries, first off, and this is definitely. I probably would have found this on my. I definitely would have found this on my own, and it's great. It's a feel good. It's a feel good road trip movie documentary, that something that I haven't seen in a long time. And I think it's almost bringing back that genre of the road. And it's not the cheap road trip MTV style type films that we've seen so many of. This is something real and just fascinating to watch. So Circle the Wagon.
That's the word that really hits for me, is real.
Yeah.
Not just with Circle the Wagon, but that's what attracts me to the genre of documentary. And what I try to make sure is conveyed in the documentaries, and why even Between the Upper Lip and Nasal Passageway, say,
such a great movie.
It's not a farce. You know, there's comedy in it, but it's inherent to talking about mustaches. It's not trying to play up a mustache as something more than it is. In fact, you'll recall there's a guy in the film, a Man on the Street interview. I recall the guy's name. Yeah. It's Jack, and I ask him, "Do you feel like the mustache is cool?" And he says, I probably will not get his quote exactly right, but he says something to the effect that, "No, I don't think it's cool. It's I don't put it up on a pedestal. Yeah. It's just, indicative of somebody's style or lack thereof, maybe." Yeah. And that's kind of how I hold the mustache. I don't think it's for everybody.
No.
At the same time, I hear a lot of guys when "Oh my God, great mustache" or whatever. I wish I could grow one of those.
Yeah.
A lot of guys say that, not realizing that they can. They just haven't given it a real go.
Right.
And when I say a real go, I mean it's like 3 or 4 months before you're going to start to see results. It takes quite a bit of time before it's actually there.
Yeah, November isn't enough time. It's funny, being someone who sells mustache wax, all the orders start coming in now. And I don't know what these guys are thinking, like they're going to be able to, start pulling off a handlebar,
pasting it on their stubble.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You need a good 3 or 4 months before you can start using the wax. But anyways, they'll have it, and I'm grateful for that. But it's true. And this goes back to the whole cheapening thing, where like with Circle the Wagon, how it's not a cheapo road trip type film. That it isn't cheapened. It's real. It's the same thing with the mustache, and with your mustache movie especially as well. It's a real look at the common man, as I've heard you describe it as, and it's true, of the mustache. It's not it's not mustache stickers or mustache cookies and another cheapening thing that's happening within the media. It's really, little hipster girls with mustaches tattooed on their fingers. It's not like that. That cheapens it for me. It's cute. I like it. Keep doing what you're doing, people. Don't let me bring you down. But for us mustache wearers, we look at it and laugh. I get emails all the time. I just got an email the other day from someone. I'm not sure if they were the one who developed this app, but what it is it's a camera app. But when you take someone's picture, it puts a mustache over it. Somehow it knows where your face is, and it puts a mustache on you. And this guy
You know what?
You know what I'm talking about?
If you want a mustache,
Grow one.
grow your own.
Yeah. No,
It's real easy.
And so these people are sending me this thing that would be of interest to me to put on my site. They want me to promote it for them. But that's not the stuff I want to get behind. I don't want to get behind mustache-shaped cookies, mustache weddings. I'm fascinated. I was fascinated by the whole thing, but now it's too much. And it takes away from the mustache. And especially, Movember, it may have been partly responsible for this, but all in all, it's for a good cause. And the more that this other stuff is floating around, like cars with mustaches, it cheapens a good cause. And I don't want to see that kill the whole movement or movement. But yeah, so I'm glad people are having fun with it. And maybe it's worked to create a mustache appreciation. Maybe we'll see a mustache president someday in our time. Again,
there have been only 4, I believe.
4 or 5. But yeah, mustaches aren't presidential. I think that's hysterical. And so, yeah, we probably won't see a mustached president in our time, or one that writes his own speeches, or one that speaks more than one language. But those are just other things aside.
No comment.
Keep it real, people. Grow a mustache, write your own speeches, and speak another language. Joking.
One thing, we should definitely stay away from politics on Mustache Blade. That's one of the things. Like a mustache or a Volkswagen, these are things like, it doesn't matter your political affiliation. It doesn't matter what religion you practice.
It's true.
Like, these are just leveling human things that everybody can connect to. And that's another thing that really I'm attracted to in both the Mustache film and the Volkswagen film is these rallying points for humanity. There's nothing ill you could say about a mustache or about a Volkswagen. Oh, Hitler created them. Yeah, big, no duh. Like, everybody knows that, Yeah,
but he was.
That's not the story of Volkswagen.
It really isn't. He put his name on that. It's like Al Gore again creating the internet. That was attached to it, much like, and this goes back to the mustache, Hitler's mustache,
right.
The toothbrush. Charlie Chaplin had one of those bad boys too.
He
but
did.
It was funny.
You know what? I will say, I love Charlie Chaplin, as has been evidenced on other podcasts we've done thus far.
Yes.
Charlie Chaplin's mustache was not real.
No, it's right. Well, no, it's right. Yeah.
That always irks me in the slightest bit, But
it's the same thing with Groucho Marx. His wasn't real as well. It was painted on with grease paint. Yeah,
grease paint. Oh, my goodness.
Until he started his show, the Groucho Marx show. Then he grew it out. Yeah, no, a lot of people don't know that.
I could tell you a story about the Hitler mustache. It's a very short one.
Just like the stash.
My best friend, Charlie Pecoraro. You've seen him in 2 films now, Doug. He's in both the Mustache film and Circle the Wagon. As an experiment, when he pretty much got rid of his handlebar mustache, he went down to a Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
And he thought, I'll just wear this for a day. We should just have him on the show to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, we will definitely have him on soon.
But in summary, his day turned into a week, and it was like one of the greatest social experiments because the reactions would be so strong and so polar opposite, people for and people against. We should definitely have him on to talk about that week experiment.
I would love to. Then Michael Jordan tried doing that too. And I think that just says a lot about people, and where we're at. Why do we have to attach certain things to certain things? One way of getting past and working through things is to face them directly and redefine what they're about. And as an exercise for all of us, I mean, it would just be neat. And I don't mean anything bad by that. I mean, it's almost laughable, not what it's associated with, but just the way people still to this day that weren't even around back then think about when they see that. I mean, like, there's so many other images attached to the atrocities, yet that's the
focal point.
Yeah, the focal point. And it's like, I find that laughable, and I think it says a lot about people. It's just such an old school First Circuit way of thinking, almost reptilian way of association, that we're bigger than that now. We're better than that. I mean, so much has come since then. Like, really, I can't rock a little tiny mustache. When I'm thinking about it in a Chaplin-esque way, and you're thinking, it's not the way I'm thinking about it. It's the way that you're thinking about it. That's the problem. Disassociation or deconstruction. Let's get Derrida on this. There's so many ways of going about it, and I think as an exercise, we should. Yeah. We
ought to see more toothbrush mustaches out there.
In a comical way. I think it would be, again, an interesting social experiment. And I don't want to give any glory to that. I want to give glory to Charlie Chaplin, people.
You say comical, but at first I think to myself, well, no, it shouldn't be comical. It should be serious. It should be a viable style to wear your mustache. However, nobody exists in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
We are part of this history that has included World War II and the atrocities therein and Adolf Hitler. Mm-hmm. So it does have to be reconciled, the fact that Adolf Hitler wore this style of mustache. So if that means that when we bring it back now, it is comedic or it is ironic or it is meant to cause a stir, maybe that's a phase of the toothbrush mustache we have to go through so that 30 years from now or something, we can wear it normally again. Well, it just reminds me, like, every band since the Beatles has to reconcile the fact that the Beatles came before them in some way.
Yeah.
There's so much energy that presence just dominates that field, whether you like it or not. The Beatles came before you.
Yeah, and the thing is, and a lot of people don't realize this. While the Beatles were, cutting edge and innovators and whatnot, these guys, these four blokes, had a serious machine behind them. So they could actually borrow from stuff that was already going on around them from other bands, and they were seen as doing it first, where in all actuality they weren't. So the Beatles, for me, are more of a mouthpiece to what was going on in that time. Rather than to raise them all up and say the Beatles did this first. The Beatles didn't necessarily do a lot of stuff first. The Beatles made it known to the masses first. And so I think they get a little, I don't want to say they get too much credit for that, but I want to say they get a little too much credit for that. I mean, if you do your history, music history, you can see that stuff is going on at the same time the Beatles are doing. Even with the Who, Magic Bus or whatever they had, Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters and further their bus, the acid rock sound of the Dead. I mean, like, this is happening in different places, but the machine that backed up the Beatles got it to the masses first. So that's my little tangent on the Beatles. I love them, don't get me wrong.
Beatles pop quiz.
Sure. There
is one album that features artwork where all four of the Beatles have a mustache.
That's Sgt. Pepper's.
Sgt. Pepper's, that's right. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Interestingly enough, that album also came with 4 cutout mustaches.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yep.
My copy, sadly, does not still have those. But my copy of the White Album still has the poster and the pictures and all that stuff. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, and that album cover alone, I mean, is epic. Sgt. Pepper's, I mean, you can read so much into that. Paul is dead and all that jazz. You ever notice that? Like in the flowers, that guitar shape actually says, or it looks like it says Paul. Oh yeah, dude.
I have noticed Paul, yes, on the guitar shape. Yes.
Yeah, there's all types of. Yeah, I mean, it's the same old. Paul is dead thing. It's still circulating. There's documentaries on it.
Right.
And if you ever get a chance to watch them, highly entertaining. Pun intended. That stuff fascinates me too. Some of this conspiracy stuff out there. Yeah, that one is really, really a must-see. I'm trying to think. The Winged Beetle, I think, is the documentary I recently saw.
The Winged Beetle.
Yeah, or the Winged Beetle, maybe.
I prefer Winged.
Yeah, I like Winged. I'm a romantic. It's entertaining. But yes, they did. They all had mustaches. And the reason for this was, well, this is the myth behind it anyways, is Paul had gotten into a motorcycle accident, I believe, and he had a cut on his upper lip, so he grew out the mustache.
He lost teeth, too.
Did he lose teeth?
if you can see pictures of him during, I believe it's Rubber Soul, where he's getting the caps or put on, and like he's
I didn't know that. So yeah, he was really using the stash as camouflage, and the other guys just hopped on board. In fact, during the recording, I'm pretty sure this is during the recording of either that album or Let It Be, they all would drink out of mustache cups, the mustache teacups with a built-in guard. What they were doing in the studio. And that being said, a mustache can hide stuff too. Take attention away from things on your face, so you can use it. You can use a mustache also. If your nose is a little large and you want to make your nose look smaller, grow a mustache. It takes away the attention. There's that. And then again, if you want to hide scars or whatnot, a mustache is also...
Or a sordid past.
A sordid past. Yeah, if you have that... If you were like me and got that tattoo on your upper lip of a dolphin back in the 90s, grow the stash out. It'll hide it. None of this is true, but... Well, what is true is it will hide it. So that was a roundabout way of talking about mustaches and wet shaving, I think. I hope we didn't put anyone to sleep out there. If you're listening to this, we're hoping you're enjoying our first episode, our intro episode. We just want you to get to know us. So, and this is what Ryan and I usually do, is have these roundabout conversations that we get a lot out of, and we hope you get a lot out of as well.
There's a certain logic to them at the same time. And if you've tuned in and you've made it to this point in the episode, I'm glad that you have done so, and I hope you're edified for having done so. And I hope this episode helps to shed a certain light on ones to come. I hope it kind of colors your experience of Moustache and Blade, because these are the men, these are the personalities that are bringing you this show, and I tend to think we're worthwhile.
I think we're worthwhile.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think people can get behind this. And that being said, you want to tell people what's in store for our next couple of episodes?
We've got some great interviews coming up, and we shall start with Mr. Joe Abatanglio of ItalianBarber.com. Abatanglio, if you did not catch it, is actually Italian, though the man himself is from Canada. E molto bene. Next up, we've got Dr. Adam Paul Cosgrove of American Mustache Institute fame. And last but not least, we have Mr. Brad Maggard.
That's Brad Maggard of Maggard Razors.
Which I am very excited for you all to hear, because that was a very fun interview from a very interesting man who does some rather interesting preservation work.
Restoration.
Restoration work.
Straight razor restoration. He's the go-to guy for that, and we're going to have him on a lot. We're going to have actually probably Joe and Brad on a lot of future episodes, popping in here and there, as well as Mantic. You'll hear from Mantic as well, sharing some tips and advice on wet shaving. So all this and more, people, are coming up on our future episodes. So please pop back in and hang out with Ryan and I at Moustache and Blade. Another thing, too, if you have any questions or would like to contact us, you can call us directly or leave a message at 347-333-1511. And you can leave a question on that. We'll possibly play it on air and try to answer that, be it on wet shaving or mustache-related stuff. So that's, again, is 347-333-1511. If you're outside of the country, remember to dial 001 first. Also, you can email Ryan or myself at, firstly, it's Ryan at moustacheandblade.com or Douglas at moustacheandblade.com. And we will be sure to get back to you ASAP. You can also, and we encourage you to, tweet about Moustache and Blade, and you can simply do this by visiting moustacheandblade.com. This will bring you to a pre-populated tweet announcing that you're listening to your new favorite podcast, Moustache and Blade. So until next time, people, this is Douglas Smythe signing off, and
Mr. Ryan Stephen Green.
Thanks for listening, and grow for it. Ciao. How was that?
You have been listening to the Moustache and Blade podcast. Thanks for listening, and please leave us a review on iTunes. Almost clean shaven, but hardly clean cut. Moustache and Blade.